So I will tell you an incident, what happened
Hmm.
exactly. So
Hmm.
मेरे एक फूफा है, so he lives in Delhi. So his younger son, one day he was coming to home from school.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
suddenly he stepped his feet in the lemon. So after that, a
हाँ.
few days later, he was just acting like mad, yelling at night. मिर्गी के दौरे पड़ते हैं जैसे कि. So
Hmm.
my brother was telling like, no, he had black magic. He had black magic. So I was just watching one of the podcast of Ranveer Allabadia where they were talking about if you see any lemon or cross sign, any sort of colorful vegetables, don't go nearby it. You don't know what magical powers they have put it. So what's your take on it? Like, do you really think this type of thing exists? Because I don't think it exists,
My
but
question would be,
what do you?
how would you know it was black magic? Something happened to someone. What would be the method to ascertain that it happened because of black magic? Right?
Yeah, exactly. I also thought about a lot of things, and similarly, my brother also shared about his friend's story. So my brother has done his engineering. So one of his friends used to tell like, एक बार क्या हुआ था कि he has a friend who stays in hostel. So he took us to some in darker room. So what he made is like a circle with a star, and
Hmm.
in every corner of the star they put a candles around it, and
Mhm.
एक कटी हुई मुर्गी का सर रख दिया था बीच में, and he was just chanting like some mantras. After
Hmm.
that hen's head was just moving, एंड कैंडल के पास जाके उसने बुझा दी, कैंडल बुझा दी सबके पास जाके,
Hmm.
एंड अंधेरा छा गया. एंड व्हाट
Hmm.
वाज द रिजल्ट इज दैट ही वाज जस्ट एक्टिंग सम काइंड थोड़ा अजीब तरीके से वो एक्ट कर रहा था, एंड माय ब्रदर्स फ्रेंड वाज सो स्केर्ड, सो दे वेंट आउट. So I don't know, like I always wonder why don't such things happen to me or to you or anyone else. Why does it happen to someone we
Maybe
know?
because you maybe because you think critically about it. Because my question remains the same. Something happens. Like for
Yeah.
example, आज मेरा पेट दर्द किया, right?
Hmm.
Yesterday I had ice cream, I had biryani, and I cycled 10 kilometers. Which was the reason? How will I find out? There is a
Yeah.
possibility that I have a stomachache because I cycled 10 kilometers. There is a possibility that I had a stomachache because of the biryani. There is a possibility that I have a stomachache because of the ice cream. Or there may
Hmm.
be a reason that I don't know about. Maybe none of these three are the reasons. How will I know why I have a stomachache? That's the point.
Yeah.
So black magic का जो claim होता है ना, there is no way to test it. There is no way to test many of the supernatural claims, but black magic, I suppose, especially applies because it is reliant almost entirely on, like Brown Panic here points out. I don't know why the majority of black magic and personal stories of experiencing God begin with terms like Fufa, Chacha, and Mama. Somebody heard something somewhere about something happening to someone, and we are like, hey, we have heard so many such stories. There's stories exist, stories are everywhere. People tell stories about a whole lot of shit. Many times they tell these stories completely sincerely, believing that they're true. But I suppose the only criteria that we are left with at the end of the day is there a method to ascertain it? There is no way.
Yeah.
How like even black magic practitioners, etc., if you ask them to prove, like some time ago there was this person who on my main channel was saying, अगर तुझ में हिम्मत है तो ये मंत्र पढ़ के देख. एंड आई एम लाइक, भैया हिम्मत की क्या बात है, तुम लाइव स्ट्रीम पे आ जाओ, लाइव कैमरा
Hmm.
फेस टू फेस मंत्र पढ़ दो मेरे ऊपर, देखते हैं क्या होता है. पर माई कंडीशन इज
Okay.
you have to tell me what will happen after you do so. Because otherwise then it becomes
Hmm.
an ambiguous thing, right? मैंने मंत्र पढ़ा, उसके 15 दिन बाद किसी ने मेरा बटुआ मार लिया, then you suddenly jump up and देखा मैंने मंत्र पढ़ा था इसलिए हुआ. How do I know it is because of that? Maybe it's just something that happened and you're just associating the two things.
Exactly, exactly. This is many things I've heard. Like it doesn't happen in within India. It happens all across the world. So
Yeah.
from that onwards, I started thinking rationally. Like, why does it happen everywhere? Like, हमारे मंत्र बाकी जगह पे काम नहीं करते क्या?
Hmm.
So this is from there only they expose. Like expose कर चुके हो वो
In
लोग अपने
India,
आप को.
it's superstition, right? It's superstition. In India, the flavor of it tends to be so-called black magic. In other places, it's something else. There are faith healers in many countries. Uh, I suppose other religions which are not Abrahamic have their own version of supernatural beliefs. At the end of the day, they're just fueled by storytelling, good storytelling. Horror stories are amazing storyteller. Like my friend Swapnil does a live stream on YouTube on the channel Avirbhav where he tells horror stories, right? And horror stories are very effective. They bring people together because stories that tell us that there is something out there that can get us have a very old tradition that goes back to pre-religious times. Like when आदि मानव वगैरह
Yeah.
गुफाओं में रहते थे, हाँ, लाइक सर कुछ लोग एक आग के चारों तरफ सोए हुए हैं, सुबह उठते हैं उनमें से एक नहीं है, उसको कोई जंगली जानवर ने मार दिया होगा, राइट? मोस्ट प्रोबेबली. But
Hello,
how do
hello,
we
hello,
make
hello.
sure that
Yeah.
other people don't go into the forest and become food for that same jungly janwar? They tell stories. There is a bhoot there, there is an atma there, there is a pret there. That's how these things started. And stories are effective because once someone is afraid of the dark, they will not go into the dark and therefore not fall prey to the animals that are waiting in the dark to eat them. So these things continue to exist and they still exist. People tell each other scary stories, and these stories have the unintentional side effect of bringing groups together.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I always think like whenever someone claims like no, this type of things is real. So I think we should supposed to question them. Okay, so what if it happens to you? It happens to everyone. Have you faced anything? So let's say if a take my example, like there was a time in college days where I used to think a lot and I used to suffer from anxieties, and I
Hmm.
used to ask, have a conversation with one of my friends. He was a quite very religious person, so he used to say like, "Oh, तेरे पे किसी ने काला जादू कर दिया है."
Hmm.
Like, how do you know? Like, I don't know how he claimed. Like, हाँ हुआ है, तो तेरा मंत्र कर देता हूँ ठीक हो जाएगा. मैं मंत्र मंत्र किया, कुछ भी करा उसने, and it couldn't able to go away. So I
Hmm.
just few weeks it happened, and one day I gone to my doctor, consulted to a doctor. So he told like, "Yep, it happens in this age because of the stressful life and all
Hmm.
this. So it's okay. So you perform some meditation, do some yoga, you will feel better. And if you have some problem, you communicate, you talk
Hmm.
to your family, share your thoughts, what you feel, because तुम बात करोगे तो मन हल्का होता है. So that's what I've done. So
Yeah.
eventually it all faded away.
The problem is accountability, right? Whenever someone makes a claim about so-called black magic, have some account, ask them to have some accountability. If you're saying black magic happened, A, how do you know? And B, the method that you're suggesting will cure it. How will I know it is that method that cured it? Because this happens with other stuff like homeopathy also, right? Somebody has a thing and it is about to go away वैसे भी. But then the homeopathy doctor gives a medicine and people say it happened because of the homeopathic medicine. How do you know it happened because of that? You can actually,
Mm.
like, medicine is based on experimental evidence. You take this chemical, you mix it with that chemical, you feed it to a person with a certain medical condition, and you have results. And then you compare those results with a broad spectrum of people who have that condition, and then you come to some kind of conclusion on the basis of your observations. So there is evidence for it. It's evidence based medicine. When medicine is not based on evidence, and when anything is not based on evidence, there is zero accountability. They can say that it happened because of black magic, and they can suggest a random solution, and if it gets better they can say it happened because of my solution, and if it doesn't get better they have no accountability. They can say, they can
Mm.
just add another story to it. It happened because that magic was too strong, or you didn't do the ritual properly, or something. It's just stories upon stories upon stories. There is no basis to it.